Hello students. In the next 3 videos we're going to teach you about scale drawing. Okay, now one of the common applications of scale drawing, as you probably know, is with maps. So for example, here's part of a map of Victoria, centered around the town of Bendigo. And what we're mostly interested in right now is looking at this, which is the scale. Now notice the scale is a ratio, 1 is to some number. Now you might be wondering, well, is this scale in millimeters or centimeters? What units is it in? And the answer is it doesn't matter. What it's basically saying is if you're interested in millimeters or working with millimeters, 1 millimeter on the map equals 1 million millimeters in real life. If you're working in centimeters, 1 centimeter on the map equals 1 million centimeters in real life. So the units aren't important. You might also be wondering, what's this 20 kilometers above the scale? Well, often using the scale can take a little bit of work. This allows people using the map to get a quick estimate of distances. So for example, if you want to find out how far it is from Bendigo to Huntley, well, you can say that distance is 20 kilometers. This is a bit less than that, so maybe 15. So that's just a quick way to help people estimate distances. Another common application of scale would be in drawings. For example, here we have the drawing of a home, and the scale here is 1 is to 10,000. So once again, 1 millimeter on the drawing is equal to 10,000 millimeters in real life. Or if you're working in centimeters, 1 centimeter on the drawing is 10,000 centimeters in real life. Okay, let's go ahead and start to do a few calculations using all of this. Okay, first question, convert 2 millimeters to 1 meter to a scale ratio and underline the scale factor. So in this case, they're giving us 2 units, giving us a ratio, but the ratio is not correct. Ratios don't have units, and this one has units. So we need to basically rewrite it without the units. And most of these questions we're doing in this section are going to require us to change the units to the same unit, and then we can cross them out, because once the units are the same, we can just say that's the ratio. So in this case, I have to change meters into millimeters. 1 meter is 1,000 millimeters, and 1 times 1,000 is 1,000. So notice I'm still writing the units to begin with. So I wrote the original units, I've converted them to millimeters. Now I can cross the millimeters out, and the answer is 2 is to 1,000. And of course, that can be simplified. I can divide by 2, and final answer, 1 is to 500. Okay, having a look at the next one. The height of a tower is 70 meters. How high should it be drawn on a diagram with a scale of 1 is to 200? And answer in millimeters. Well, that is the actual height. So let me write the scale down first. 1 is to 200. Now we want to answer in millimeters, so let's convert this to millimeters. So I'll just come up here and say 70 meters, we have to multiply by 1,000. So that is the same as 70,000 millimeters. So I'm going to, again, put the units on for now. And we want to know, keeping the same ratio, what number should that be? Well, let's do our usual trick. What do I multiply 200 by to get 70,000? Well, I can go ahead and work backwards to find that number. 70,000 divide 200, and I'm multiplying by 350, and therefore I have to multiply by 350. And therefore, if we want it to actually be 70,000 millimeters, the scale drawing with this ratio here has to be 350 millimeters. Oh, by the way, underline the scale factor. I forgot to do that up here. The scale factor is just the number in the ratio that's not the 1. So the scale factor is 500. Okay, let's have a look at a couple more questions. Okay, convert the following to scale ratios and underline the scale factor. Well, these are all pretty much straightforward. Once again, I want to get a common units. So the first thing I have to do is go 1 centimeter and then convert the 6 meters into centimeters. Well, there's 100 centimeters in a meter, so that's 600 centimeters. And the centimeters cross out. And that means the actual scale ratio is 1 is to 600, and the scale factor is 600. Okay, I'll try this one, then I'll leave you to try those two. Okay, 5 millimeters is to 4 meters. Well, once again, we have to get them to the same units. We always choose, by the way, the smaller unit to avoid getting decimals. Converting meters into millimeters, we multiply by 1,000, so that's going to be 4,000 millimeters. Now we can cross out the millimeters, giving us a ratio of 5 is to 4,000. And then finally, we can simplify. I want to get that 1 is to something, so I divide by 5, and 4,000 divided by 5 is 800. So that is the same as a scale ratio of 1 is to 800, and the scale factor is 800. Okay, you have a go, please, at the next two questions. Okay, let's go and work through these. Okay, 1 centimeter to 1 kilometer. This is actually quite easy because of the ones in there. So 1 centimeter, and we've got to convert kilometers to centimeters. So the first thing we do is we multiply by 1,000, and that gives us 1 centimeter to 1,000 meters. And then we have to do it a second time. And to convert meters to centimeters, we multiply by 100, and that gives us 100,000 centimeters. Now that the units are the same, we can cross them out, and we get 1 is to 100,000. And scale factor, of course, is the 100,000. Okay, similarly, we start by writing the question, 1 millimeter to 40 centimeters. Let's convert the 40 centimeters to millimeters. And in this case, we multiply by 10 because there's 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. That gives us 400 millimeters. We can cross out the millimeters, and that gives us our answer. The scale ratio is 1 is to 400, and the scale factor is 400. Okay, we'll move on to some other scale questions in the next video.